Welcome back to the Critically Clueless. Today we are in Disciples Liberation once again, and today we are talking all things merge emotion shards. Within this video, we're going to go over every single emotion within this game, what they can be used for, and then just how they can be used to buff up your units. But before we get into this video, if you like Disciples Liberation and want to see more content, hit that subscribe button. That way you don't miss out on more videos just like this. We also have an active Discord as well, where I'm trying to recruit some Disciples Liberation fans so we can actually get together a bit of PvP action, as the matchmaking system within this game doesn't really work too well. But the link will be in the description down below. So just have a little click on that, join up, and come and say hello. Now, there are 8 different emotion shards within this game, and they consist of faint, mild, strong, and sovereign. Basically, what you do is you get 2 faint shards, combine them together, and they will make a mid shard. Then 2 mid to make a strong, and 2 strong to make a sovereign. And it's the sovereign shards that we want. So I would really recommend making these sovereign shards as quickly as you can within the game, as they really can be so useful. Once they become sovereign, not only do they have the stat boost, but they also get extra buffs as well. For instance, the Sovereign Shard of Anger gives you a 20% plus physical resistance, 15 initiative, and grants 2 power for each 1% of health missing, and grants 2 movement and 10 critical chance while under 50% HP. The Sovereign Shard of Intuition gives you a 10% buff to crit chance, 20 to initiative, and 10 plus to evasion. And its special ability is the unit takes 50% less damage from area effect abilities. So if you notice an enemy playing a certain way, you should be able to counter it with a few of these different types of shards. Now, the Sovereign of Pride could be a very good one for anyone that likes extra health, because what you get is 350 plus health plus 75 to your power. It also increases healing received by 20%, which is quite massive, really. It also grants you immunity to Cursed and Silence, and anything that grants you immunity to Silenced is very, very useful. Now, one of my favorite emotion shards in the game is the Sovereign Shard of Hope. Now, this one gives you divine damage plus 25%, physical resistance plus 10%, prime resistance plus 10%, unholy resistance plus 10%, and divine resistance plus 10%. But a special ability, it grants you regen for the first 5 rounds of battle. And as we all know, the battles don't really last that long. And the best bit about this shard is that once per battle, instead of dying, you actually get your health restored 25%, which kind of gives you a second life. Sometimes you can get 1 hit, 2 hit, sometimes the AI target one character, and this will basically get them a get out of jail free card. Next up, we have the Sovereign Shard of Sorrow, which gives us a 25% bonus to unholy damage and a 20% bonus to unholy resistance. It grants immunity to Frayed and Taunt, and oh my god, I hate being taunted, so getting immunity from Taunt is really helpful. It also grants a +1 to morale when an enemy dies in battle, and inflicts a -1 morale when an ally dies in battle. Now, morale can have a big factor on the battle, so to get that +1, although it's only 1, it can turn the tides of a battle. Next up, we have the Sovereign Shard of Vengeance. This is quite basic. You get a +25% to primal damage. Now, a lot of units deal with primal damage, therefore this one can really buff them up. Abilities that deal damage have a 75% chance to add burning for 4 rounds. You also get immunity to chilled and slow, and it grants thorns to a unit. Now, I've spoken about thorns before in another video, but for those that don't know, if you have thorns, when you're attacked by a AI that is standing next to you, they get half of that damage back onto them. Now, I quite like having someone on the back line that grants everyone thorns, but if you're not going to do that on the back line, then possibly having this, because thorns can really help and really hurt the opponent. Next up, we have the Sovereign Shard of Zeal. Now, this gives us a +3 to morale. Now, +3 is quite big here. You also get a divine resistance to +20%, and you get +1 to movement. It also grants you immunity to immobilized and paralyzed. And any immunities are good immunities, if you ask me. And lastly, we have the Sovereign Shard of Hatred. Now, this gives us a +10 to critical chance. It also grants 20% damage against units of different races. Abilities that deal damage have a 75% chance to add poison for 3 rounds, and defeating an enemy of a different race prevents it from going in the graveyard. So this shard definitely has a lot going on and can be used in a number of different ways. Next up, I'm going to give us 4 examples of how we can actually use these shards to benefit us in a battle and to buff up different troop types. I'm going to choose one random troop from each faction within the game and then pair them with the emotion shard that I think best suits them. So first up, we have the Overlord. Now, the Overlord is a massive tank, basically. You know, he is a massive meat shield, and his second ability deals primal damage to all units. So after having a little look at the emotion shards that we have available to us, personally I think the Sovereign Shard of Vengeance is absolutely perfect. First of all, it will buff our primal damage output by 25%, and then it will also grant us thorns as well. Now, as we're a melee unit, we're going to have a lot of melee units coming up to us, attacking us, and we're going to be able to take a lot of that damage and deal it back to the enemy. Now, next up, we're going to do the Winter Witch. Now, she also does primal damage in her main attack. Therefore, the Sovereign Shard of Vengeance could be very useful here as well. However, as we've just used this shard, I figure I might as well pick something else. So an alternative to this would be the Sovereign Shard of Zeal. This gives us a +3 to morale, 20 divine resistance, and 1 movement. It also grants us immunity to immobilize and paralyzed. But that 3+ to morale gets us to be exalted, which is a 15+ to power and another +10 to crit chance as well. And quite frankly, that is just huge buffs. Next up, we have the Imperial Assassin. Now, after having a look at his attack and what that actually gives us, it does physical damage. And now, I couldn't find a shard that actually boosts physical damage. So what I decided for this one was to give him the Sovereign Shard of Hope. And again, that one gives us the divine damage, which is that's not going to help us. It does give us the resistances to physical, primal, unholy, and divine. It grants this character regen as well, because at the end of the day, this is a character that, well, he's an assassin. If he uses his vanish ability and then attacks, he can deal an unbelievable amount of damage. So we kind of want him to survive. So, of course, a good way of ensuring that he survives is by giving him a second life, which is exactly what the Sovereign Shard of Hope actually does. And at once per battle, as I said earlier, it restores 25% of his health if he would die. And lastly, if we're looking at our vampire, the ability number 2 is absolutely devastating, but basically this deals unholy damage. So if we pair that with the Sovereign Shard of Sorrow, that gives us an extra 25% damage of unholy damage. It also gives us an immunity to Afraid and Taunted, which is great for us, and it grants a 1 morale to enemies that die in battle. As you can see, this is just a demonstration of 4 different units that I've chosen completely at random. Now, you can boost every single unit in this game. There is a shard for everyone in this game. And I feel that a lot of people are sitting on these shards. And that's a real shame because, like I said, these are so powerful and can really be a difference maker within your playthrough. But let me know what you think, guys, down below in the comments. I'd be very interested to know what your favorite shard is. For me, I think it's the one that gives you regen and that second life. I do find myself using it quite a lot. But I hope this video has helped you guys, and if it has, don't forget to hit that like button and of course subscribe to the channel. But I've been the Monk, we've been the Critically Curious, and until next time, happy gaming.